series of videos that I'm doing how to build a shower basically from scratch. I've already gone through video number 1. I will post the link right there and you can watch number 1. That is the beginning process. So in that video I show basically, you know, how to get the drain in. This used to be, if you watch video number 1, this used to be a fiberglass shower that the customer tore out. So I had to get the drain right. I had to move. This was a full partition wall. I cut that down and I had to move the plumbing over to that wall. So that is in video number 1, as I already posted there. Video number 2, basically I show the process of doing a buildup. I had about 3/4 of an inch buildup to get to the bottom of that flange for the drain. So you'll see that in there. You'll also see that I have done the pouring of the pan, or I'm sorry, putting the pan liner in and pouring of the pan. And then of course I did the curb. So there are video links in the description box of that process in video number 2. So you can watch how a curb is done, you can watch how a pan liner is put in and the pan is poured. I didn't show that in the video, but the links are there. I will also link video number 2 right there so you can watch that. You can go there and watch that whole process of my explanation. More or less it's my explanation of how to do it and then the video links. And then of course I'll post both of those video links in the description box down below so that you can watch those too if you miss those. So this is video number 3, and I had the wall board up, and the wall board is grain board, and as I already mentioned in video number 2, the grain board doesn't matter. Even though it's a gypsum product, there is a product out there called Dent Shield. Dent Shield is a gypsum product also, and it already has a waterproofer, a topical membrane if you will, already embedded on it. So I'm doing the exact same thing. A lot of people are focused on cement boards or Hardybacker and Durarock and Wonderboard, and if you feel more comfortable doing those, that's fine. Either which way, once you put the topical membrane on, nothing penetrates this wall. So if I had cardboard that was 1/2 inch thick, I would be extremely comfortable putting cardboard up there and painting this whole thing with Red Guard. In fact, I have a video from a couple years ago where I painted a cardboard box with Red Guard and no water penetration went through after a week of it sitting there. So anyway, enough of that. In fact, I'll post a link to that video, Red Guard on a cardboard box, or you can go look for it. I'll also put it in the description box down below. So that's the reason I use grain board. When I use grain board, I use mud and the fiberglass tape that goes in here, and then of course inside of the niche and the corners there should be used, but again, it doesn't really matter. All tape is where seams come together. It's a crack prevention method, and of course Red Guard is a crack prevention method because Red Guard is rubbery and it sticks to everything, and this alone will keep any type of separation from the 2 pieces of wallboard, so you don't have to really worry about that. But in the meantime, if you want to do that, you can, as I said, you can choose to use a cement board. You could use, you know, the mesh tape. You could do a curb out of concrete. You know, you could do a lot of things different than I'm doing, but I'm just showing you my practice. So as I mentioned on video number 2, there is a gap, probably about 1 inch, maybe 1.25 inches, all the way around, up under the curb. And so that's to facilitate the tile. The floor tile goes first. So the floor tile, if you can hear this, that's the pan liner. So the floor tile is going to go up against the pan liner, and there'll be a gap between that tile and this board. Even though I'm going to Red Guard it, that prevents any type of water from ever penetrating up from the bottom of the board. So that's something also that you want to consider when you start hanging your board. Leave that little gap under there so that you'll have that little space there to put your floor tile, because the floor tile will go first before the wall tile. The wall tile will overlap the floor tile so that you have a horizontal connection rather than the vertical connection. I would never put my wall tile first and then the floor tile is kind of back assward. Anyway, the curb got buttered, as you saw in video number 2. The curb got buttered with thin set, and so that covered up. I actually did this out of Durarock, so that covered up all your screw holes and all the edges where the Durarock came up in here and met the cap of it. Covers up all the edges and it makes it all tight and sealed and all that stuff. And then of course I'll Red Guard that 3 times. The Red Guard process is actually next. So I'm going to Red Guard the entire walls. All 3 of these walls are going to get Red Guarded 2 times, which is more than enough. 1 time would be okay, but I always do it twice. The corners are going to get 3 coats. The niche is going to get 3 coats. Even though the niche never really sees a lot of water, people get crazy on the niche. In fact, if you wanted to, and you were really focused on, oh my God, I'm going to have so many leaks, and that's just not true. You could actually run a bead of caulking on the corners in here. A lot of people do. Again, the red guard trumps this, because the red guard, once it goes in there 3 times, trust me, there's no water ever going to penetrate through that wall. Guaranteed 100%. So, as I said, all the corners, including the niche and the curb, is going to get 3 coats of red guard. You ask me why? Because every time I take a shower apart, all the times that I see failures or rot or anything going on is always the curb. It's usually the knee wall, and it's usually when they set wallboard inside the shower pan. Before they pour the shower pan, they do the wallboard first, and then they pour the pan, and that's just ridiculous. Don't do that. Anyway, so getting on to the process next, everything has been dried, and including this shower pan. This is dried for 3 days, which is a great idea. Dry as much as possible. There's probably 2 gallons or more of water that's been added to that when I pour the pan. So as much drying time as you can get, the better. You'll put a level, a 5-foot level on the walls everywhere you've got a seam that you've taped and mudded, and you're going to make sure that there's no gap. There's no gap on this level at all between where the old wallboard was and the new wallboard was. So again, just make sure that there's no gap there. If there is, fill that in and let that dry. If you have a small gap, say 1/8 of an inch or something, don't worry about that, because obviously when you do your tile, if you do it right anyway, you're going to butter your tile on here, trowel it out on the wall, and you're going to back butter your tile. So the little 1/8 of an inch won't matter if you've got a small gap like that. But larger gaps, definitely fill those in, let it dry, and then do your red guard. The red guard process, use a paintbrush for the corners and a roller for the walls. As I said, do the corners first, do the walls, do the corners first, do the walls next, do the wall a second time, corners a second and a third time, and you'll be good. So I'm going to get started on that process right now. Okay, the red guard has been applied, and if you notice, it goes on pink, and the dried stuff will actually be red. This camera doesn't focus in on red very well, but basically what you're seeing is pink and red. The red being the outlining part here, and the darker colors would be the red, and then in the corner is the pink. The reason it's pink is it dries red, and when it's fresh and wet, then it's pink. So all I've done already is put on I put on 1 coat onto the walls already. You see where little discrepancies are. You can see the green a little bit, and so that's 1 coat. I put in 2 coats already inside the niche, and 2 coats in the corners and on top of the knee wall. Didn't do the outside of the knee wall because I don't anticipate it ever getting water, but I definitely did the side here, and I did the curb. I also paint outside of the curb. This is a concrete slab, so it's not that important, but normally if this is a wood floor, I would paint probably 5-6 inches out. Just in case water ever penetrates into the tile and it gets through, that it doesn't ruin this section of floor right here. This wood floor is usually where I see wood rot outside of a shower. This is where people step out and get wet, and wood rot is very common right here. So that's the reason I paint outside of the curb about this far. And again, as I alluded to earlier, I do my knee wall really well, because after years and years of taking out knee walls, you know, the shower fixture is usually here, and it's just slamming water on this knee wall all the time, so it's hitting the grout. They're not doing, it's usually builder's grade anyway, so they're not doing any type of sealing of the grout, and they're definitely not doing any waterproofing. So I just make sure that if any water, you know, is slamming on that grout and it ever fails, that the water will just go through the grout and not hit the wall and rot out the wall. So I always adhere to damages. As I said, I've been doing this for 15, 17 years. And every time I take out a shower, a couple times a month, I'm noticing where the damage is, and that's what I focus in on making sure that it doesn't get damaged again. But as I said on my other video, the 100-year shower, if you did everything just the way the builder did, which is usually crap, you've got a 30-year shower. On that video, I'll post it right there. On that video, I show the tear out process of a 30-year shower, and it was built in 1985, and they did everything wrong, but yet it lasted 30 years. This one will last, who knows, 100 years, but by then
you know, taste will change, the homeowner will change a couple times, you know, whatever. I'm going to post a video also about how to apply RedGuard. I'm going to post it right here since I'm not really showing the process of doing most of the things in here. That's why I'm posting all the links. So you'll be able to see the process right there of how to apply RedGuard onto your walls. So the next step I'm going to do is put a second coat on the walls, a third coat in all the corners, the niche and the knee wall and the curb, and then I will do the floor and probably 2 coats on the floor, maybe just 1, depends on how much I have left. And so yeah, that's the process. This is video number 3, right? So video number 4 will be the next process, which will be tiling the floor, and I will get to that when I get there.
Send